Welcome back to our third and final video on strengthening the CEO-CHRO bond, where we share insights from our roundtable discussions at the BigHR event this year. In today's video, we're going to talk about the challenge of C-suite executives or the CEO wanting to jump straight to the sexy talent management work, whether it's succession planning or leadership development, and sort of bypassing or not understanding how important the foundational HR work is to ensuring that some of the talent management work is effective. So before we jump into that, let me just go back and give everybody a refresher who maybe you missed the first two videos, and if you have, you can just skip forward past them. But how we got to this data was basically a series of roundtable discussions at the BigHR event. So we had 18 tables of 5 to 6 professionals plus a CHRO mentor who helped to facilitate discussions as well as share their own insights into these topics. And then how we got to these topics was from our mastermind group workshops, where we basically brainstormed on what are the biggest challenges that face CHROs when working with CEOs. All right, so it's a little bit about the background. Wanted to spend a minute just thanking Nicole Bonanno, who helped me basically take all of this data and simplify it and help me put it in a format that is easy for you to understand. So if you're not into watching videos or you don't have time, feel free to download the PDF and you can get all of the details in the PDF. All right? So let's jump into today's topic, which is, once again, the challenge of bypassing or underfunding the foundational HR work in favor of jumping right to some of the more high-value or sexy talent management initiatives that catches the board's attention and the C-suite's attention. But we know that without some of the foundational HR work in place, it's really hard to make these other talent management initiatives effective. So we'll go into what's the root cause of why this happens. We're going to talk about some unique ideas, and then we'll finally go into some actionable solutions that these amazing HR leaders are recommending. All right, some of the common themes around the root cause is really starting with a lack of understanding of the foundational HR work. So I think it's so interesting how CEOs and C-suite executives really still have such an elementary understanding of human capital, talent management, and HR. They often underestimate the importance of the foundational HR work and how they're all linked together, right? And it's like your body, right? Without your brain, nothing else works. And so having some of that foundational work in place is often not the fun stuff. I guess it's sort of like when you're doing home improvements. Putting a roof on or putting a driveway together is just not that much fun and not fun money to spend, but needs to be done, right? Versus when you get to do a full bathroom or kitchen remodel, it's a blast. But what they don't understand is that when you don't follow the roadmap and some of the things are done out of order, you're sort of, putting a Band-Aid on it, right? If you don't have the performance management in place and you try to do succession planning, it's pretty hard to do. Or let's say you want to do external succession planning, and that requires pipelining and a lot of research from the talent acquisition department, yet your TA function doesn't have the right resources or enough, headcount or even the right skill set to do that kind of work, it's going to fail miserably. So the top thing was really the lack of sort of understanding from non-HR leaders. The second one is pressure for quick and visible results. So there was a lot of consensus around this prevalent theme that there's pressure on executives to show quick, tangible results, leading to prioritizing some of the flashy initiatives at the expense of essential foundational work. Another one, which is not very unique and something we hear a lot, which is resource constraint. Organizations often struggle with allocation of resources and having enough resources for actually both the foundational work as well as the high-value initiatives. Forcing sometimes the choice between things that feel like it gives you an immediate impact versus long-term stability. I think this is a good one. I think sometimes the expectations aren't set because we assume that at their level they understand what the roadmap looks like in order to get there, right? Or what's the architecture to make sure that we build a solid house in HR. Like, of course, you would always make sure that there's a good foundation before you would. Of course, you would have a great foundation before you would put 2x4s up. In any case, that is not always the case, and so we have to make sure that we're laying out that roadmap, setting the expectation of what it looks like over the next 3 to 5 years. It is not something that happens overnight. I've seen many of our leaders in our mastermind groups who are brought in to set up strategic HR, and it really does sometimes take at least 3 years to get to the point where you're getting to the fun stuff. The analogy that the group came up with is don't assume the CEO understands what it takes to get the plumbing in place. It was suggested that sometimes in fast growth organizations, the challenge is even more pronounced, where there's a temptation to implement new initiatives and the pressure to show results quickly are higher. So, every quarter you're going to your board meeting, you've got a lot of expectations from the board or the private equity firm. And so there was sort of a theme that some of the fast growth organizations had this challenge a little bit more than others. And lastly, that the root cause could be lack of communication or collaboration between the HR function and other departments that can really exacerbate this issue. And so we get back to this topic of HR needing to be viewed as a strategic business partner. All right, so to quick recap here, the root causes are lack of understanding of foundational HR work, pressure for quick, visible results, resource constraint, expectations not set, role of fast growth organizations tend to have this issue a little bit more, and then communication and collaboration challenges between HR and other functions. Now, let's jump into some of the unique ideas and perspectives that we heard. Okay, I think we heard this first one in another video, which is pivot the distraction. I love this one. So pivot the distraction. Let's think about that and ask great questions to better understand the real problem, really peel back the onion, and make sure that we're solving for the true objection. Now, I'll tell you, this does not sound like HR speak. This sounds like consultative selling techniques. And I think there's definitely something to that. This one was funny, basically sharing the thought that HR doesn't look good in orange, right? So keeping the organization out of legal trouble and making sure the C-suite understands the consequences of skipping over some of the foundational HR work. And then finally, that really, even though it's not viewed as sexy, the foundational HR work can be viewed as a competitive advantage, meaning when you get this right, it allows for all the other high-value talent management work to fall in place and work smoothly. So as an example, in one of our recent speaker sessions, they shared their entire roadmap. And before that CHRO got there, it wasn't that they weren't spending money on training and development. In fact, they spent a lot of money on training and development. But it was very haphazard, and there was no rhyme or reason as to what the employees were getting trained on versus having it aligned to the business. But in order to get it aligned to the business, there was some foundational HR work that needed to happen, like getting the systems in place, right? Being able to determine competencies and understanding performance requirements. So as you can see, there are just so many things that won't go well, and money can be spent in a way that doesn't help the organization actually move forward if a lot of these foundational HR processes aren't in place. All right, so to recap the unique ideas and perspectives, pivot the distraction, HR doesn't look good in orange, and selling foundational HR work as a competitive advantage to enable, or so that the talent management work can be effective. All right, so here are the actionable solutions that the group recommended. Number one, executive education on foundational HR topics. I think this could be a fantastic challenge for HR leaders to put together workshops or really simple presentations so that you can share with them how these foundational pieces of HR tie into what matters to them the most. Okay, so creating a roadmap so that the C-suite can understand what it takes. I've seen some really cool ones, right? Like some of them are timelines of how it needs to happen. Others are pyramid. I think the pyramid example, I'm going to give credit to one of our mastermind members who shared this with us. This pyramid where you show all the foundational work at the bottom and some of the talent management work at the top is a great visual. Okay, so allocating adequate funding is a no-brainer. Always a challenge for HR functions, but I think if there's an opportunity to link the investments back to here's how it's going to get us to some of the high-value work so that from a business perspective we can achieve our strategic priorities, that is going to be most helpful. But once again, that's an age-old problem that HR has, and actually I will link to some resources, some things that we put together throughout time on building business cases that might be helpful to you all. And then really building a strong HR leadership team who have the capability and skill sets to really build those relationships with the senior executives and to advocate and educate on why the foundational HR work is pivotal in creating organizational culture and the areas that senior executives care about. And finally, making sure there's a strategic partnership across all the departments and other functions. The better educated your peers are on why this makes sense, the more advocacy you'll have to help push these initiatives. All right, so if you'd like to download the PDF, you can fill out your information below so that we can give you all of the summaries. You can get access to the details and some of the ideas that maybe didn't make it into the common themes. And if you enjoyed this and think you would enjoy being part of this conversation next year, make sure that you click on the link below, which is CHROpartners.com, CHROpartners.com/BigHR, all small caps, BigHR, BIGHR. And you can enter your information here so that you can receive an invite to next year's event. In addition, if you would love to know the secret to building a robust peer group of HR leaders, consider joining the mastermind groups. You can do that, and you can learn more about that by just going to CHROpartners.com. That's our main homepage. And read more about it. If you think it's something that might be of interest to you, feel free to click on the link and it will take you to my calendar link, and there you can schedule an appointment where we can explore the possibilities. All right, so this is Cindy Liu with CHRO Partners signing off. Let me know if you have any thoughts or comments about these discussions or your own ideas that you think would be valuable for others to know about.